Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss. Summary and analysis by Brevreds. Introduction to Tools of Titans. Tools of Titans is like a blueprint for success. Compiled from interviews and conversations with some of the most extraordinary minds across various fields, athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, and thinkers. Imagine sitting down with hundreds of mentors, listening to their stories of success, their toughest moments, and their daily habits that have helped them thrive. This book brings all of those insights together so you can use them in your own life. The book is divided into 3 major sections: healthy, wealthy, and wise. Each one digs into the routines, strategies, and tools that help these high achievers stay at the top of their game. What sets Tools of Titans apart isn't just the tips and tricks, but the vivid stories and personal journeys that give context to each piece of advice. It's packed with quirky routines, unconventional wisdom, and the kind of actionable insights that can transform your day-to-day life. We'll explore each section with a focus on specific stories that bring these lessons to life, and we'll unpack the details so you can see exactly how these titans think, act, and overcome challenges. Let's dive into the first part, healthy. Part 1, healthy. The power of morning rituals. Jocko Willink's 4:30 a.m. wake-up call. Many successful people share a love for morning routines, but few are as intense about it as Jocko Willink, a former Navy SEAL commander. For Jocko, mornings aren't just about getting a jumpstart on the day, they're about building mental toughness. He's famous for waking up at 4:30 a.m. every single day. And he doesn't just get up, he posts a photo of his watch on social media as proof. Why 4:30 a.m.? According to Jocko, it's not about the time itself, it's about discipline. Getting up at that hour, even when you don't feel like it, is a way of proving to yourself that you have control over your mind. Jocko explains that it's in these moments of discomfort that you build the discipline to push through challenges in other areas of life. For him, it's like a daily act of mental resistance training. Once he's up, Jocko doesn't waste any time. He heads straight to his garage for a brutal workout, usually a mix of bodyweight exercises, kettlebells, and high-intensity interval training HIIT. The idea is simple: start the day with a small victory. By 6:00 a.m., while many people are still hitting snooze, Jocko has already conquered his first challenge. He believes that winning these small battles in the morning sets the tone for the rest of the day. But there's a story behind why Jocko is so relentless about his mornings. During his time as a Navy SEAL, he learned that success in high-pressure situations often comes down to small, everyday habits. On one mission in Iraq, his team was ambushed while patrolling a dangerous part of Ramadi. Amid the chaos, Jocko realized that the hours spent training in the dark, early mornings had conditioned them to stay calm and focused under fire. Those pre-dawn workouts were more than just physical, they were mental preparation for the life-and-death situations they faced. He brought this same mindset into civilian life, where the stakes are different, but the discipline remains the same. For anyone looking to add more discipline to their lives, Jocko's advice is simple but not easy: start with something uncomfortable every day. It doesn't have to be a 4:30 a.m. wake-up call, but find that thing that pushes you out of your comfort zone and do it consistently. The magic of breathing, Wim Hof's icy resilience. If there's one person who redefines what the human body is capable of, it's Wim Hof, also known as the Iceman. He's broken records for swimming under ice, running a half marathon in the Arctic Circle barefoot, and climbing Mount Everest in nothing but shorts. But his methods are not just about testing limits, they're about using breathing techniques to control the mind and body. Wim developed his famous breathing method, now known as the Wim Hof method, after a personal tragedy. When his wife died by suicide, Wim struggled with depression and found solace in nature. He began experimenting with exposing his body to extreme cold while practicing a unique breathing technique that combined deep breaths and holding his breath for long periods. The core of his technique is a series of 30 deep breaths, followed by exhaling fully and holding your breath as long as you can. This is repeated several times, and it's paired with exposure to cold, like ice baths or cold showers. But why does it work? According to Wim, it's about controlling your autonomic nervous system, something science had long thought was impossible. At first, people thought Wim was a fraud, or that his feats were just the result of a genetic anomaly. But to prove his method worked, he invited scientists to test him. In one experiment, Wim allowed himself to be injected with endotoxins, bacteria that normally cause a strong immune response, and used his breathing technique to remain symptom-free. The researchers were shocked, but Wim took it a step further. He trained a group of volunteers in just a few days, and they too were able to control their immune response using his breathing method. Wim's method has practical applications for everyone, not just for those chasing extreme challenges. It's about pushing past perceived limits, using the power of breath to calm the mind and body. He insists that cold exposure combined with breathing isn't just a trick. It's a way to take control of your physiology and build resilience, both physically and mentally. If you're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, or just curious, Wim's advice is to start simple. Take a cold shower for 30 seconds and practice a few rounds of deep breathing. You might not become the next Iceman, but you'll learn how to face discomfort head-on, one breath at a time. The athlete's mindset. Laird Hamilton's rituals for fear. Laird Hamilton is a legendary big-wave surfer, a sport where fear is a constant companion. He's faced waves as tall as a 3-story building, knowing that one wrong move could mean disaster. To prepare for these moments, Laird doesn't just focus on physical strength, he trains his mindset relentlessly. One of his most intense routines involves holding his breath underwater while lifting heavy weights. Imagine being submerged in a pool, holding a dumbbell, and walking along the bottom as long as you can. It's not just about building lung capacity, it's about learning to stay calm when your body is screaming for air. But the real story comes from how he applies this training to his surf sessions. One winter, Laird faced a particularly dangerous wave in Hawaii, one so massive that most surfers wouldn't even consider paddling out. As he prepared to drop into the wave, Laird knew that any hesitation could lead to disaster. But he remembered his underwater training, how he had learned to relax when everything in him wanted to panic. He took a deep breath, committed, and rode the wave to safety. Laird's mantra is that you don't rise to the occasion, you sink to the level of your training. For him, training under extreme conditions isn't just about the physical benefits, it's about building a calm, focused mind that can handle stress when it matters most. Whether you're facing a massive wave or a tough challenge at work, Laird's approach is the same. Prepare for the worst so you can perform at your best. He suggests trying small challenges to train your mind for resilience. For example, if you're afraid of public speaking, practice in front of a small group. If you're not used to physical discomfort, try an ice bath or a challenging workout. Laird believes that by exposing yourself to discomfort regularly, you teach your mind that fear doesn't have to control you. Stoic mindset. Ryan Holiday's daily Stoic practice. Ryan Holiday, author and modern Stoic philosopher, is a strong advocate for applying ancient wisdom to modern life. He draws from the teachings of figures like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, Stoic philosophers who believed that while we can't control external events, we can control how we respond to them. One story Ryan often shares is about Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who faced constant challenges, from wars to plagues. Despite the pressure, Marcus started each day with a reminder: you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This wasn't a morbid thought, it was a reminder to focus on what truly matters. Ryan uses a simple tool to keep this perspective alive: a daily Stoic journal. Every morning he writes down a quote from a Stoic philosopher and reflects on how it applies to his life. For example, during a particularly stressful period, Ryan focused on a quote from Seneca: "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." He realized that much of his anxiety came from overthinking future scenarios that might never happen. By grounding himself in the present, he found he could handle challenges with a clearer mind. One time, during a business crisis where a major deal fell through, Ryan found himself spiraling into stress. But instead of reacting impulsively, he returned to his journal and reminded himself of a Stoic exercise called premeditatio malorum, imagining worst-case scenarios in advance. He sat down and wrote out the worst possible outcomes of the failed deal. As he did, he realized that even if everything fell apart, it wouldn't be the end of the world. This exercise helped him calm down, think rationally, and come up with a new plan. Ryan's advice is to integrate Stoicism into your daily life with small, consistent practices. Start by reading a Stoic quote each morning, or keep a journal where you write down your thoughts and challenges. It's about building the mental habit of focusing on what you can control and letting go of what you can't. Part 2, Wealthy. Building a business, Reid Hoffman's ABZ planning. Reid Hoffman, the co-founder of LinkedIn and a venture capitalist, has a unique way of thinking about career and business planning, called the ABZ plan. It's a framework that can help anyone, from startup founders to those figuring out their next job, navigate uncertainty and make better choices. His philosophy comes from his own journey, which was anything but a straight path. Reid's career started far from the tech world. He was a philosophy major, inspired by big ideas and ethics. But as he graduated, he realized that a life solely devoted to philosophy might not have the impact he wanted. So, he pivoted to the tech industry, hoping to create platforms where ideas could spread. This led him to co-found SocialNet, an early social networking site that ultimately failed. He learned some tough lessons, like how timing is critical. SocialNet came out too early, before people were ready to connect online the way they do now. But Reid didn't see SocialNet's failure as the end. Instead, he saw it as Plan A going off course, and he shifted to Plan B, joining PayPal as part of the founding team. It was a turbulent time, with PayPal facing fierce competition, regulatory battles, and even hackers targeting their platform. Reid's adaptability in these moments, moving from lofty ideas to gritty problem-solving, was key to PayPal's eventual success. So, what is the ABZ planning method? It starts with Plan A, which is your current approach or project. It could be your job, business, or whatever you're focusing on right now. Plan B is the pivot, what you'll do if Plan A doesn't work out. It might be a related career shift, a side hustle, or a tweak in your business model. It's not a backup plan that you abandon Plan A for immediately, but more of a contingency that keeps you moving forward. Finally, Plan Z is your safety net, the when all else fails plan. For Reid, it was moving back in with his parents if his ventures collapsed. The story behind this mindset goes back to PayPal's early days, where every day felt like fighting off existential threats. During one period, they were burning through $12 million per month with no profit in sight. Reid and his team knew that if they couldn't pivot their strategy quickly, they'd run out of money within a few months. So, they worked on Plan B, expanding their service from online payments to becoming the main payment method on eBay. When that strategy took off, PayPal's growth skyrocketed, leading to a successful acquisition by eBay. Reid's ABZ planning isn't just for entrepreneurs, it's for anyone who wants to avoid feeling stuck. When you face a setback, instead of panicking, think, what's my Plan B? And if everything collapses, what's my Plan Z to keep me afloat? This approach allows you to take risks without fear of losing everything, because you know there's always a next step. Mastering negotiations, Chris Voss's tactical empathy. Chris Voss, a former FBI hostage negotiator, has seen negotiation at its most intense, where lives are literally on the line. But his methods aren't just for law enforcement. They're incredibly effective in business and everyday life too. His approach centers around a concept he calls tactical empathy. The idea that the best way to influence someone is to deeply understand their emotions and perspective. One story Chris shares involves a hostage situation in the Philippines. A group of rebels had kidnapped a group of American missionaries and were demanding a ransom. Voss and his team were sent in to negotiate, but they knew that simply refusing to pay wasn't going to get the hostages out safely. Instead, Voss used mirroring, repeating the last few words of the rebels' sentences, to build a connection and draw out more information. By doing this, he was able to make the rebels feel heard, and gradually gather details about their motivations. In one pivotal moment, the rebel leader demanded an exorbitant sum of money, threatening to kill a hostage if it wasn't paid. Instead of responding with anger or defiance, Voss used a technique he calls labeling, identifying and verbalizing the emotions of the other person. He said, "It sounds like you're feeling desperate because you don't trust us to work this out." This simple statement changed the dynamic of the conversation. The leader softened, revealing his concerns about their own safety and trust in the negotiation process. Through this careful use of empathy, Voss was able to shift the rebels' stance, and the hostages were eventually released without a ransom being paid. This experience taught him that negotiation isn't about arguing your point. It's about understanding the other side's perspective so deeply that you can guide them toward a solution. Voss's methods are just as applicable in everyday scenarios, like salary negotiations or even family discussions. For example, he suggests using phrases like, "It seems like you feel," or "It sounds like you're saying," to show you're actively listening. This disarms the other person, making them more open to compromise. His advice is clear. In any negotiation, your goal should be to build a relationship where the other person feels understood, even if you don't agree with them. Investing like a titan. Ray Dalio's Principles of Diversification. Ray Dalio, one of the world's most successful investors, attributes much of his success to a single principle. An investment portfolio should be like a well-balanced meal. Dalio's journey to mastering this principle started in the 1980s, after nearly losing everything. At the time, Dalio had built up Bridgewater Associates. But he made a huge miscalculation, betting that the U.S. economy was headed for a deep recession. When the economy rebounded instead, his investments tanked, and he lost almost all of his clients' money. He even had to borrow $4,000 from his father to pay his bills. This humbling experience taught him that no matter how confident you are in a prediction, you can always be wrong. Determined to avoid this mistake again, Dalio developed a strategy called the all-weather portfolio, which is built around the idea of diversification. Not just across different stocks, but across asset classes like bonds, commodities, and real estate. He realized that the key to building wealth is not to put all your money into the highest returning asset, but to spread it across investments that react differently to economic changes. In his words, you should make 15 uncorrelated bets to balance risk. Dalio tested this theory extensively, analyzing market data going back hundreds of years. He found that a well-diversified portfolio could significantly reduce the impact of market downturns. It's like building a ship with different compartments. Even if one leaks, the others stay afloat, keeping you from sinking. Dalio's approach proved its worth during the 2008 financial crisis, when Bridgewater's funds managed to remain stable while most of Wall Street was crumbling. While others panicked and pulled their investments, Dalio's balanced approach helped his firm grow even through the toughest conditions. So how can you use this strategy in your own finances? Even if you're not managing billions of dollars, the principle of diversification still applies. Instead of putting all your savings into one type of investment, like stocks or real estate, spread them out. For example, you could allocate part of your portfolio to index funds, some to bonds, and a bit into alternative assets like gold or even cryptocurrency. This way, no single downturn can wipe out your progress, and you can ride the waves of the market more smoothly. The Art of Selling. Seth Godin's Purple Cow Marketing. Seth Godin, a marketing guru and best-selling author, believes that in today's world, the worst thing you can be is average. His book Purple Cow is all about how to stand out in a crowded market by being truly remarkable, something people can't help but talk about. But this philosophy didn't just come from theory. It was born out of personal experience in the marketing trenches. Seth's journey began when he worked at a direct mail company in the 1980s. He noticed that traditional marketing methods, like sending out generic catalogs, were losing effectiveness. Customers were becoming numb to the same old pitches. To stand out, Seth realized that the key wasn't in shouting louder but in being different. He coined the idea of a purple cow, something so unique that it catches your attention, like seeing a purple cow among a field of brown ones. A great example of this is Tom's of Maine, a toothpaste brand that broke all the marketing rules. Instead of trying to be like every other toothpaste, promising whiter teeth and fresher breath, Tom's focused on being natural and environmentally friendly. They didn't try to appeal to everyone, just to those who cared deeply about natural ingredients. It was a niche, but it made the brand stand out in a sea of generic competitors, allowing it to grow a loyal customer base. Seth used this idea when he launched Squidoo, a website where users could create pages about their interests. Instead of building just another social media platform, Squidoo focused on being a place where passionate users could dive deep into their favorite topics. It wasn't for everyone, but for those it appealed to, it was irreplaceable. The site eventually grew to millions of users and was acquired by HubPages. His advice for anyone trying to make a mark in business is simple: don't try to blend in, aim to stand out. If you're launching a product or starting a business, ask yourself, is this remarkable? Would people talk about this? It's not about being outrageous for the sake of it, but finding what makes your product uniquely valuable and doubling down on it. Scaling success. Peter Thiel's secrets for building a billion-dollar business. Peter Thiel, co-founder of PayPal and early investor in Facebook, believes that successful businesses are built not by competing, but by creating something completely new. He calls this approach 0 to 1, which is about going from nothing to creating something unique that didn't exist before, rather than just improving on what's already out there. Thiel's insights come from his time at PayPal, where he and his team faced fierce competition from other digital payment services. But instead of getting caught up in the race to the bottom, lowering fees to attract users, Thiel looked for a way to set PayPal apart. His team focused on making PayPal the easiest way for eBay sellers to accept payments online, which became their key to success. In one memorable story, PayPal faced a significant threat from BillPoint, eBay's own payment service. BillPoint had the advantage of being owned by eBay, but PayPal focused on solving pain points that eBay users faced. They made their service incredibly simple, with faster setup times and fewer restrictions. They also offered a $10 bonus for every new user, a bold and expensive move. While PayPal burned through cash with this strategy, they gained user loyalty quickly, and eventually eBay had no choice but to buy them out. Thiel's philosophy is that the best companies don't try to win by beating their competition at their own game, they change the rules entirely. A classic question he poses is, what valuable company is nobody building? This question pushes you to think about opportunities that others are missing or ignoring, instead of just trying to improve what already exists. For aspiring entrepreneurs, Thiel's advice is to find your monopoly, a product or service that is so unique that it has no direct competition. He argues that businesses that operate as monopolies, like Google in the search engine space, are able to make huge profits and reinvest in their own growth. He challenges you to find that secret, something you know that others don't, and use it to create a product or service that's fundamentally new. Tim Ferriss's fear-setting method for making big decisions. Tim Ferriss himself shares a technique called fear-setting, which he developed during one of the most difficult times in his life. It's a tool that helps you overcome indecision and fear by visualizing the worst-case scenario and then planning how to deal with it. It's about turning fear into a motivator instead of a blocker. The idea came to him when he was struggling to decide whether to leave his job in sales and start his first company. The fear of failure kept holding him back, and he felt paralyzed by the thought of losing a stable income and disappointing his family. One night, he sat down with a piece of paper and wrote down all the worst things that could happen if he took the leap. He imagined running out of money, not being able to find a new job, and losing respect from his peers. Then, he wrote out how he would respond to each of these fears. For example, if he ran out of money, he could work as a waiter until he found a new job. If his business idea failed, he could always move in with a friend for a few months to save on rent. By visualizing these scenarios and creating a plan for each, the fear became less overwhelming. He realized that the worst-case scenarios weren't as bad as he'd imagined, and that gave him the courage to make his decision. Fear setting is simple to do. Start by writing down your fear or decision. Then, list all the worst things that could happen, no matter how unlikely. Next, write down what you could do to prevent these scenarios, or how you would recover if they happened. Finally, think about what might happen if you don't take action. What opportunities might you miss, or what regrets might you have? This process helps you realize that the risks aren't as scary as they seem, and that you're more resilient than you think. Ferriss's method has helped countless people overcome fears and make bold decisions, from quitting a job to moving to a new city or starting a new venture. The message is clear: don't let fear be a reason to stay stuck. By confronting it head-on, you'll find a path forward. Ramit Sethi's Invisible Scripts and How to Break Free. Ramit Sethi, author of I Will Teach You to Be Rich, talks about the concept of invisible scripts, the beliefs we carry about money, work, and life that hold us back without us even realizing it. These scripts shape the way we think, often leading us to make poor financial decisions or limiting our potential. For example, Ramit met a young woman named Sarah, who was struggling with her finances despite having a good job. She had racked up credit card debt and couldn't save money, and every time she got a raise, she spent it on something new. When Ramit asked her why she didn't save more, she said, "I just don't think I'll ever be the kind of person who can save money. It's just who I am." This was her invisible script, an idea she had absorbed over the years that made her believe she wasn't capable of being financially responsible. Ramit guided Sarah through a process of rewriting her script. They talked about her goals and why she wanted to save money in the first place. Then they broke down her beliefs about herself and where they came from. Sarah realized that her parents had always struggled with money and often made comments like, "We're just not rich people," or money is for those people, not us when she was growing up. This belief had become ingrained in her mind, but once she recognized it, she could begin to change it. Ramit had Sarah set up automatic transfers to a savings account and track her spending more closely. Within a few months, she had saved up a few $1,000s, something she'd never thought she could do. This small win gave her the confidence to keep going, and over time she shifted her mindset from, "I'm not a saver," to, "I'm learning to manage my money." For Ramit, the lesson is that our invisible scripts are powerful, but they aren't permanent. The first step to breaking free is to recognize the beliefs that are holding you back. Ask yourself, what beliefs do I have about money or success that aren't true? Then, challenge them with actions that prove otherwise. This process might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's the key to unlocking new possibilities in your life. The importance of saying no with Derek Sivers. Derek Sivers, a musician turned entrepreneur, has a simple philosophy when it comes to making decisions. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no. This advice sounds straightforward, but it's harder to follow in practice, especially when you're used to saying yes to every opportunity that comes your way. Sivers learned this lesson the hard way while building CD Baby, an online store for independent musicians. In the early days, CD Baby grew quickly. Musicians loved having a platform that wasn't dominated by big record labels. But as the business grew, Sivers found himself stretched thin by trying to accommodate every request from customers and partners. He spent hours each day responding to emails, tweaking the website, and managing an ever-expanding list of tasks. Eventually, he realized that saying yes to everything was making him miserable. One day, he decided to start saying no to things that didn't excite him, even if they seemed like good opportunities. For example, when a major record label offered a partnership deal, he turned it down because it would have required CD Baby to change its business model in a way that didn't align with his vision. At the time, it felt risky to say no to a big player in the music industry, but in the end, it allowed him to focus on what he really cared about, helping independent musicians get their music out there. The result? CD Baby thrived, and Derek found more balance in his life. He eventually sold the company for $22 million, donating most of the proceeds to a charitable trust. His story shows that saying no is a way to protect your time and energy, and to make space for the things that truly matter. It's not about being selfish. It's about knowing what aligns with your values, and focusing your efforts where they'll have the most impact. Try applying Derek's rule to your own life. If you're not excited about an opportunity, it's okay to pass on it. This might mean turning down a social event, declining a project that doesn't align with your goals, or saying no to extra work that isn't in your job description. It's about recognizing that your time and energy are limited, so use them wisely. Naval Ravikant's Guide to Building Wealth and Happiness. Naval Ravikant, a successful entrepreneur and angel investor, is known for his profound insights into both wealth and happiness. One of his key principles is that getting rich is not just about hard work, but about working in the right direction with the right leverage. He emphasizes that traditional paths, like climbing the corporate ladder, are often slow and limited in scope. Instead, he believes that finding ways to combine your unique skills with scalable opportunities is the real key to building lasting wealth. One of Naval's stories involves a young man named Arjun, who was trying to figure out how to become financially independent. Arjun was talented and hardworking, but he had always believed that the only way to achieve success was through a stable job at a big company. He put in long hours, hoping that he would eventually rise through the ranks. But even after years of dedication, he felt like he was stuck. When Arjun met Naval, he expected advice about better time management or working harder. Instead, Naval asked him, "How can you work with leverage? How can you build something that scales beyond your time?" At first, Arjun didn't understand what this meant. But as they talked, Naval explained that leverage means using tools, capital, or people to amplify your efforts. It's not just about working hard, it's about working smart. Naval encouraged Arjun to explore opportunities in the digital space, where code, media, or investments can create wealth that isn't tied to a fixed number of working hours. For example, if you write software, create online content, or invest in startups, you can reach thousands or millions of people without a proportional increase in effort. Arjun began learning coding and created a simple app that solved a niche problem in his community. It didn't make him a millionaire overnight, but it started earning him passive income. freeing him from the constraints of a traditional job. Over time, he built a small portfolio of digital products, which provided him with financial independence. Naval's broader point is that wealth is more about freedom than about money. It's about having control over your time and being able to do what you love without worrying about financial constraints. He advises that instead of focusing on becoming rich, focus on building a life that you don't need to escape from. This means aligning your work with your passion and finding ways to use leverage to amplify your efforts. Jocko Willink's extreme ownership for taking charge of your life. Jocko Willink, a retired Navy SEAL, brings a military perspective to the world of personal development with his principle of extreme ownership. It means taking full responsibility for everything that happens in your life, even things that seem beyond your control. It's not about blaming yourself, but about recognizing that you have the power to change your situation by adjusting your actions and mindset. Jocko tells the story of a failed mission in Iraq, where a series of miscommunications and mistakes led to a chaotic situation. During the debrief, everyone on the team was pointing fingers at each other, trying to find out who was at fault. But Jocko, as the team leader, took a different approach. He stood up and said, "This was my fault. I'm the leader, and I'm responsible for everything that happens on this mission." This moment turned the entire atmosphere in the room. His team stopped blaming each other and began focusing on how they could improve their communication and procedures. Jocko's willingness to take ownership inspired his team to step up their own accountability. It became a turning point for their operations, leading to smoother missions and better teamwork. The lesson here is that taking ownership empowers you. When you accept responsibility, you gain the ability to change your situation because you're no longer waiting for others to fix it. This applies not just in military settings but in everyday life, whether you're dealing with challenges at work, conflicts in relationships, or personal goals. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" ask yourself, "What can I do to change this?" It shifts your mindset from victimhood to empowerment. Kevin Kelly's advice on living an optimistic life. Kevin Kelly, the founding executive editor of Wired magazine, is known for his futuristic thinking and optimistic outlook on life. He believes that optimism is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you expect the world to get better, you're more likely to find opportunities that others might miss. One of Kevin's key ideas is the concept of 1,000 true fans. He explains that for creative people like writers, musicians, or artists, you don't need millions of followers or customers to be successful. Instead, if you can find 1,000 true fans, people who are willing to support you directly and consistently, you can make a sustainable living. These fans are the ones who will buy your products, attend your events, and spread the word about your work. To illustrate this, Kevin shares the story of an independent musician named Maria, who struggled to gain traction in the music industry. She spent years trying to get a record deal, playing in small venues and sending out demo tapes. But every time she was close to a breakthrough, the deal would fall through, or a bigger artist would get the spotlight. When Maria learned about the 1,000 true fans concept, she changed her approach. Instead of trying to please everyone, she focused on building a deeper connection with her core audience. She started a subscription-based fan club, where she released exclusive songs, behind-the-scenes videos, and live conda sessions. Her fan club grew slowly but steadily, and she began earning enough money to support herself without needing a big record deal. This strategy gave Maria more creative freedom and allowed her to focus on making the kind of music she loved, rather than chasing trends. Over time, her fan base grew, but she never lost sight of the core group that believed in her from the start. Today, she enjoys a steady income and a close-knit community of fans who truly appreciate her work. The takeaway is that it's better to have a small, passionate audience than a large, indifferent one. If you're a creator, focus on building relationships with your most loyal supporters, rather than trying to appeal to everyone. It's a reminder that you don't need to be famous to be successful, you just need to find the right people who value what you offer. Arianna Huffington's third metric for success: beyond money and power. Arianna Huffington, co-founder of the Huffington Post, shares a transformative experience that changed her perspective on success. For years, Arianna had defined success in terms of money and power. She was a high achiever, working around the clock to build her media empire. But one day, in the middle of her busy schedule, she collapsed from exhaustion, hitting her head on her desk and waking up in a pool of blood. This incident was a wake-up call for Arianna. As she recovered, she realized that she had been sacrificing her health, relationships, and well-being in her pursuit of professional success. She began to redefine what it meant to be successful, adding a third metric, a focus on well-being, wisdom, and wonder. Ariana started making changes to her life, like getting more sleep, practicing meditation, and spending more time with her loved ones. She even introduced nap rooms at her office, encouraging employees to take breaks and recharge during the day. At first, people thought it was a quirky idea, but soon they noticed a positive shift in their energy and productivity. She shares the story of Jared, one of her employees who was known for burning the midnight oil. Jared had always prided himself on being the first to arrive and the last to leave, but he often looked tired and stressed. After Ariana introduced the nap rooms, Jared reluctantly tried them out. To his surprise, he found that taking a short nap in the afternoon made him feel more focused and energetic. He even started using the extra time to play with his kids in the evenings instead of working late. Ariana's point is that burnout is not a badge of honor. It's not sustainable, and it often leads to poorer decision-making and less fulfillment in the long run. By prioritizing your well-being, you can actually become more effective and enjoy the journey instead of just racing to the finish line. Her story encourages you to ask yourself, am I truly thriving, or am I just surviving? Consider making small changes in your daily routine that prioritize your health and happiness, like taking short breaks, getting enough sleep, or spending time doing something you love. Conclusion: bringing wisdom, wealth, and well-being into your life. After exploring the lessons from some of the world's top achievers, it's clear that a life of fulfillment requires a balance between wealth, health, and wisdom. Here are some actionable steps that you can start implementing today, based on the insights shared in the stories and experiences. 1. Apply extreme ownership in your life. Reflect on areas of your life where you feel stuck or frustrated, at work, in your relationships, or with your personal goals. Ask yourself, what can I take responsibility for in this situation? Own the outcome, and think about what actions you can take to improve things. Start small but take consistent steps. Over time, you'll find that you have more control than you initially believed. 2. Leverage your unique strengths for wealth building. Identify your core strengths, skills, or knowledge that you can offer uniquely. Look for ways to amplify these strengths through leverage, whether by learning new digital tools, starting a blog or podcast, or investing in opportunities that scale. Think about creating something that doesn't require trading your time for money, like a digital product, course, or investment. 3. Find and nurture your 1,000 true fans. Whether you're an artist, entrepreneur, or side hustler, focus on creating meaningful relationships with a small group of loyal supporters. Engage with your audience directly through social media, newsletters, or personal interactions. Offer value in unique ways, behind-the-scenes content, special offers, or personalized interactions that show you care about their support. 4. Make time for rest and recovery. Don't neglect sleep and rest. Both are essential for high performance and creativity. Try incorporating short breaks throughout your day, especially during intense work periods. Even a 15-minute walk or power nap can recharge your mind. Prioritize downtime with friends and family. Like Ariana, find small moments of joy and relaxation that make life more meaningful. 5. Shift your mindset towards long-term happiness. Practice gratitude by writing down 3 things you're grateful for each day. It helps you stay positive and focused on what's going well. Make a list of activities that make you feel alive and fulfilled, and carve out time for them regularly, even if it's just for a few minutes. Seek out mentors or inspiring voices, books, podcasts, or local community members who can help keep you motivated and on track. 6. Build a life you don't need to escape from. Identify one area of your life that feels misaligned, whether it's your job, a habit, or a relationship. Ask yourself how you can make it better or take steps to move away from it. Don't rush the process. Focus on making small, incremental changes. For example, if you're unhappy with your job, start building a side project or learning a new skill that excites you. Aim for a life that gives you freedom over your time, where work feels meaningful, and you wake up looking forward to the day. These steps aren't about achieving overnight success. They're about creating a solid foundation where you can steadily build a life of freedom, fulfillment, and resilience. As you take ownership of your actions, find leverage in your unique strengths, and prioritize your well-being, you'll discover that the tools of the Titans are within your reach. So, start today. Make small changes, take deliberate actions, and watch as your life transforms, one step at a time. Thank you for completing another BrevRed video. Like and subscribe to see more of our videos. If you have a particular book that you would like us to summarize, please share it in the comments section below.